Moon landings, the moment humanity stepped off the map. In the silence of space, the moon looks close enough to touch, a pale, cratered lantern hanging over Earth, familiar yet impossibly distant. For thousands of years, humans stared at it with longing, telling stories about gods, monsters, rabbits, and lovers carved into its light. But in the mid-20th century, something changed. The moon stopped being a symbol and became a destination. And the story that followed wasn't smooth or glorious at every turn, or even guaranteed to succeed. It was a race against physics, politics, time, and the limits of human endurance, a story measured in heartbeats and fire. It begins with a shockwave. October 4th, 1957. A small Soviet satellite named Sputnik arcs across the sky, beeping its presence into the void. The world watches in awe and fear. The United States scrambles. The space race ignites. Kennedy, standing before Congress in 1961, makes a declaration so bold it sounds reckless. Land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade ends. No blueprint. No engine capable of the job. No computer small enough to fit in a spacecraft. No roadmap at all. Just a deadline and a vision that pushes the boundaries of imagination. NASA becomes a hive of tension. Engineers design rockets that could explode with the force of small nuclear weapons. Test flights fail. Astronauts train underwater in desert heat in tight capsules they can barely turn around in. The Mercury program proves humans can survive space. Gemini proves they can maneuver, rendezvous, and dock. Every mission is a stepping stone. Every step risks everything. Behind the scenes, tragedy strikes. In January 1967, a fire during a ground test kills Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger B. Chaffee, 3 astronauts trapped in a capsule meant for the moon. Their loss halts the program, forces redesigns, and carves their names into the very structure of the spacecraft that follows. The Apollo program moves ahead under the weight of grief and determination. Then comes the rocket that will change history. Saturn V. Taller than the Statue of Liberty, powerful enough to shake the ground for miles, its engines generate 7.5 million pounds of thrust at launch. The first time it fires, people think the sky is tearing open. Inside this controlled chaos sits a spacecraft with 3 modules: the command module, the service module, and the lunar module, a spindly insect-like craft built only for the vacuum of space, too fragile to ever fly through Earth's atmosphere. Separately, they look improbable. Together, they form humanity's bridge to another world. Apollo 8 becomes the first to leave Earth orbit. As the spacecraft rounds the far side of the moon, the crew hears nothing from mission control. Radio silence imposed by the moon's bulk. They read from Genesis on Christmas Eve while Earth rises over the lunar horizon, a blue marble floating in blackness. That single photograph, Earthrise, reshapes how humanity sees itself. Fragile, shared, one world bordered by nothing but space. Then, on July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 launches. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins ascend into the sky atop a tower of flame. 4 days later, the lunar module Eagle separates from the command module and begins its descent. Tension builds inside the cramped cabin. A computer overloads with alarms. Armstrong takes manual control. The landing site is too rocky. Fuel runs low. The world waits breathless as the Eagle drifts toward a new patch of ground, engines kicking up a cloud of dust untouched for billions of years. Then the call, Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Across Earth, an exhale rises from continents like a single breath. The first step is quieter than expected. No drum roll, no triumphant soundtrack, just the crunch of a boot pressing into powdery regolith. One small step for man. The words drift across space and into history. Humans are standing on another world. The footprints stay sharp in the vacuum. They may remain for millions of years. But the mission isn't over. Apollo 11 is just the opening chapter of lunar exploration. Apollo 12 lands with precision. Apollo 13 nearly becomes a disaster when an oxygen tank explodes on the way to the moon, crippling the spacecraft. The crew patches together a survival plan using cardboard, duct tape, and raw ingenuity, slingshotting around the moon to return home. Failure is not an option, becomes more than a catchphrase. It becomes the spirit of NASA itself. Apollo 14 tests new tools. Apollo 15 brings the lunar rover, a battery-powered vehicle designed to tackle slopes, craters, and dust that clings like static. Astronauts drive farther and explore deeper. And then comes a scientific breakthrough disguised as a routine training decision. Astronauts become students of geology. They search not for beauty, but for significance. Apollo 16 and 17 push farther into the highlands and valleys, hammering samples, drilling cores, revealing a moon older than many imagined. Apollo 17 astronaut Harrison Schmitt, a geologist, discovers orange soil created by ancient volcanic eruptions, proof that the moon once pulsed with fire. The landings transform the narrative. The moon is not a quiet rock. It is a frozen archive of Earth's earliest history. Yet the true twist isn't found in samples or photographs. It lies in what the moon landings changed beyond science. They altered human perspective. The space race was born from competition and fear, but it evolved into something bigger. A recognition that reaching the moon required cooperation between thousands of minds, decades of research, and the work of people who would never see their names on plaques. Engineers, mathematicians, cleaners, welders, seamstresses, programmers, pilots, all contributing to a goal that expanded what humanity believed it was capable of. The missions ended in 1972, not because curiosity faded, but because money and politics pulled the focus elsewhere. The footprints remain. The equipment sits in the dust. The flags, now bleached white by radiation, still mark the sites where humans first rewrote the limits of their own existence. For decades, the moon slept as a destination, visited only by unmanned probes. But something began to shift again in the 21st century. New rockets rose. Private companies joined the race. Nations built new lunar programs. The Artemis missions, crafted by NASA and partners around the world, aim not just to return, but to stay. To build bases. To use lunar ice for water and fuel. To prepare for journeys deeper into the solar system. We are no longer trying to beat a rival. We're trying to extend our reach into the cosmos. The final twist is this. The moon landings weren't the end of anything. They were the beginning. A proof of concept. A doorway cracked open. Humanity took one step and then stepped back, not in retreat, but in preparation. The next footsteps on the moon will carry new flags, new voices, new languages, and new dreams. And when they plant their boots into the same dust Neil Armstrong touched in 1969, they won't just be repeating history. They'll be continuing it. The moon never asked us to visit. But we went anyway, not because it was easy, not because it was guaranteed, but because the sky over our heads was never meant to be a ceiling. It was always meant to be an invitation.